I love making independent film. It's just I love it. I'm conditioned for it. I know how to do it. I've now been doing it for some years, and I love it.
Get down! No one moves, all right? That's just so that you know this is a real gun, that it's loaded. You know the drill. Somebody move. Shoot him.
Michael, how's it going?
How's it going, Jim?
It's going all right. Just got back to LA a few days ago. I was last 3 months and spending quarantine with family in Chicago, so a little change of scenery.
Okay, is that where you're from, Chicago?
Yep. Mm-hmm. Good old Midwest.
I love that town. I love Chicago.
Oh yeah, big fan of it.
Yeah, I am. I am a fan of Chicago.
Do you like the food or the city in itself? Anything in particular? Because we have good food out there. That's one thing for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I live in New York, so they got pretty good food here. But Chicago's just more of like, I like the people, I like the vibe. I think the city has good taste. I think it's got a great history, a fascinating history. It's Chicago. It's one of the great cities, I think.
Well, good to hear it as a Chicagoan. I appreciate hearing that for someone like you. Michael, wanted to jump into the film. This is a really interesting film, and obviously it stars so many great people in it, Boone and Ron Perlman. What attracted you to the script initially when you kind of came across it? What was like the first reaction you remember having upon seeing or hearing about this film?
Well, I didn't really read the script. I just asked them how much they were going to pay me, and then when they signed on to that, I was like, whatever, I'll do it. That's a big joke. that's
cracking up.
And maybe the funniest thing about that joke is like that would be the last film to do that with.
Right, because indies.
We didn't have that much money.
Right, you usually don't go for indies for the money,
No, I've met John and actually now that I've done some interviews, I'm like remembering all the details. Like then I also met Dree Hemingway, who was on, who was already signed on to the project. She was extremely passionate about it. She had just shaved her head. I was like, yeah, let's do it.
There's a commitment.
There's a commitment. Yeah, I mean, I love making independent film. It's just I love it. I'm conditioned for it. I know how to do it. I've now been doing it for some years, and I love it. It's like the battle for me. It's the smell of the battle. I love the thrill of it.
It's interesting, actually, your character in particular, wanted to get your take on it. You can view him in a lot of different ways. You can view him as a protector in some ways, someone that relates to these kids because he's been in a background. Then some might see, he's a bad guy because he's training them to become robbers in a sense. How did you view this character? Because I thought it was really complex and interesting, and it had a lot of layers to him. The Oscar character had really a lot of layers to him. He had a lot of shades to him. How did you view this character? Because I thought your interpretation of him was really interesting. It came across with a lot of depth.
Well, thank you so much. I mean, that's like the best compliment I could get. I think that means that what I like about that is that he's not two-dimensional. And when I look around at the world, I don't see any two dimensions. I see everything in 3D. And I don't know. I think most people I meet, to say someone's all the way bad or all the way good is usually they're usually selling you something. So, I mean, it's a big compliment. So thank you so much for saying that.
Absolutely. One thing about you, I've noticed, you always you're one of those actors that really delves into the role. We might want to call him method acting or whatnot, but you always really embody the character, whether it be a rough character, just like you mentioned, kind of the many shades that you take in of a character. What's your kind of approach when you're looking at a script and seeing these characters who might come from totally different backgrounds? Obviously, this character of Oscar comes from a background that not many people can relate to, who might be watching, and some I'm sure could. But how do you kind of delve in to make him come to life? Because there's a lot of authenticity in the characters you've played over the years, and especially in this one, in this movie. How do you kind of visualize yourself in that world that you might personally be unfamiliar with?
Well, I think that's your job. I mean, that's what taking on a character. I mean, that's sort of how I've been taught. It's the school in which I've been, mentored in. Every great director that I've worked with has cared about one thing: delve into the character. Be the character. Perform it, and that was always the priority. One thing I can say is that I loved working with the kids. I had so much fun with them, and something that I knew is that we had to create this sort of family between Oscar and the Lost Boys. And we didn't have a lot of time. And so I had talked to their parents and I said, hey, I really want to do something as a group where we can all get together and get to know each other and work as a group, because I knew that would be very important. It would make things go faster, and also that was what it needed. And so we planned a day for everyone to go to the boxing gym, and we met. We went to a local gym, and we all learned boxing together. And it was really fun seeing all the boys, just like they were so they were having so much fun, and so I was having fun, and it was cool. It was great. Actually, it was some of my fondest moments about the work on there is working with the kids.
That's interesting you say that, because you could probably rate, in a sense, you started in industry pretty young. You were the age of these kids in the movie, maybe even younger, when you kind of arrived on a scene. When you look back at your career, and having certainly having success early on too, from being at a young age in the movies that you appeared in, how do you kind of look back at your start now? You're a mature man, and looking back as when you had the success and had some
I'm definitely a man. I don't know about the mature part.
I guess there's always part of us that still kind of got the kid in us, or the
I'm
goofy.
Definitely a grown man.
Yeah. How do you, do you look back sometimes on your career? I mean, I remember you from the start. I remember you in Dawson's Creek back in the day. We're pretty much in a similar age group. But how do you kind of look back on your career now that you're at this point, and you can play these roles of like in this movie, kind of a mentor to these younger kids, but you were one of them back in the day when you kind of got started. Do you ever look back and kind of think about how you've come to be where you are in your career to this point?
Yeah, just pretty much every morning. I say a little prayer and thank whoever for blessing me. I did start young. I mean, but maybe not in I didn't necessarily, I didn't have anyone in the business. I didn't know anyone in the business. My family didn't work in the business. I moved to New York when I was about 15. And so I was young, but I didn't really have a Hollywood upbringing, if that makes sense. That's why I laugh when you say mature man. I mean, in order for me to put together the career and not let anyone down at the age I was, usually when I look back, I go, wow, you were so mature then. What happened?
Wow, that's an interesting perspective.
But yeah, I mean, I feel really blessed to be able to work to make film because I love it, and I absolutely had a lot of mentors on the way. I wouldn't have been able to I wouldn't have been able to get into this business, this art form, without them. And so it feels good if you can return the favor or pass it on. It does make you feel good if you have the opportunity to do that in a small way. So maybe that's why I enjoyed it so much.
You mentioned earlier when we started talking about enjoying the indie route and how that became kind of a pillar of your success and just in this industry, your livelihood. You've worked with so many people. When you look at older movies, the Ryan Gosling, and alongside him and Eva Green and the Dreamers, and they become these like huge megastar household names. But I always felt like you could have easily been at that level as a known commodity everywhere, a major big budget motion picture kind of starring in all these sort of movies. When you look back at your career and see some of your peers also, become to these like huge levels of stardom, and if you're asking me at least, I thought you're a mega talent, equally if not better than a lot of the people you've worked with along the years, that you're a true artist in a lot of ways. Do you ever have any sort of regrets or anything that you maybe would want to do more big budget movies, or are you really content and happy the route you took? Because some of your indie work is just really stellar. We talk about movies like The Dreamers and just funny games. You've done some really, really good stuff. Are you satisfied personally the way your career turned out and the projects you picked kind of and the route you took?
Yes. I mean, I am, yes, I would say that, I mean, what's important to me and sort of what has interested me, and also, like, again, I would say the people who have mentored me, like, Scorsese and Gus Van Sant, Michael Haneke, Bertolucci. These are not small people, and I don't mean that in a sort of in a commercial way. I mean artistically. I learned from them, and the work was always what's important. What's important is the work, and that's the way that I feel most at home with myself, most peaceful. I mean, that's not necessarily the way to becoming a movie star. But that absolutely was a very conscious decision, and I don't have any regrets with that. I mean, I wish that it was a little bit easier for film directors to hire who they want. Something that in Europe, because there's different ways of getting funding, very often a film director can hire the actor that they want, that they think is going to do the role best. it's more common here in America where secure your funding through your actor. And that is not necessarily the best actor for the job. I don't know. Did I answer the question?
Totally. That. Michael, just really appreciate you taking the time to talk to me. Like I said, I've been a big fan of your.
I would say something about Eva Green. Eva Green is an incredible actress, and even though she has a lot of, even though she's in a lot of projects, I still think that she's understated as an actress, the actress that she is. I think largely because she's so beautiful. Mm-hmm. And in a lot of ways, she became a sex symbol very early on. But I will say, from working with her, that she is a brave actress. I don't know. She works. I mean, she's. I don't think people realize how good she is. So I will say that about Eva.
Appreciate it, Michael. Thank you so much. Like I said, I've been a fan of you since your early days and really enjoyed the work you've done over the years. And I was really excited to get an opportunity to talk to you and keep on doing you in a lot of ways, because I think you're one of the true artists out there. And I've really enjoyed your work over the years and looking forward to more continued success.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. Stay safe.
You too. Take care, Mike.
All right, bye.
We gotta go. Now. Gave you life, a community, and you want to bite the hand that fed you.
Everyone here has value. You're a part of something.